mean, this portion of the day is our panel on the conversation of weight bias in the fitness industry, which is very important to us. It's kind of our whole raison d'etre. Let me grab this because I was told to. Obviously, this is a very important conversation to have. We want to help foster an environment of inclusivity. We believe that everybody deserves access to fitness, to mobility, to all those really important things, and it's not reserved for one body type. And unfortunately, we see so much of that in literally all the marketing that surrounds so much of the fitness space. So obviously, everybody in this room hopefully feels similar to the way we do, but our amazing panelists are going to be able to elaborate a little bit more on that. So, I mean, I will do a brief introduction of our panel, which we're very lucky to have. So first we have Jennarie, our recording artist. They have a beautiful song that's remember the name of it?
Never Been Spoken.
Yes. Sorry, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Sure. Now I'm going to forget details, I'm really sorry. So please start here with Jennarie. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Jennarie. I'm an artist, singer, a musician. Also, I would, consider myself a pretty fierce advocate for body liberation and body positivity. Also a gym goer and workouter. And I'm really excited to be here, so thanks for having me. And,
Hi everyone, I'm Meaghan Wray. I'm a freelance writer based in Toronto, and when I'm not copywriting to pay the bills, I am doing journalism, and I love writing about diet culture, fat phobia. I love writing essays about my own experience as a fat person and growing up fat, and I'm just super excited to be part of this, and it's such an amazing space, so rock on.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm super grateful to Jenna for inviting me here, and Daniela, and all the hard work you've been doing. My name is Damali Fraiser, and I like to call myself the queen of kettlebells. But overall, I'm just an advocate for movement. I believe movement is the destination, and that we do that through our bodies, and we have our whole experience, our human experience through our bodies. So just having an opportunity to share a little bit more about the ways that we can move more and enjoy that movement, that's really what I'm all about.
We're so lucky to have you all honestly chosen, so I'm really excited to hear what everybody thinks. Damali is a fitness facilitator, and as you two have said, you're more of a fitness goer, so we kind of get both perspectives from these questions that we're going to be chatting about. So let's, I have a seat, so I'm going to and I'm going to start with our first question. So, many people in larger bodies feel judged or unwelcomed in fitness spaces, whether it's from unsolicited advice, lack of representation, or even being ignored by trainers. What concrete actions can gyms and fitness professionals take to create an environment where all bodies feel genuinely supported and not just tolerated? Maybe Damali might want to start.
Take it away. You can start. Take it away.
Thank you. Fitness, unfortunately, has had a place where both our health and body size has been put into hierarchy. So when it comes to that hierarchy, it's kind of a caste system, wherein those are at the top of the hierarchy are better than those at the bottom. So for us to start to break that down, one is to acknowledge that it exists, that there is this hierarchy, there is a place where some folks have been given the privilege of being in more power, and others have that power taken away. So me as an individual, as a coach, I need to understand where I reside in that place of power as well, as in terms of authority, in terms of how I teach. but acknowledging that internally as well as looking at that systemically. So making sure that we understand that it is not always a malicious intent when we experience those systems of oppression, when we experience those barriers, and giving them a human face, and then giving ourselves some considerations for that. So that's where I would start.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, I've been going to gyms for a very, very long time. I've been an athlete since I was young, so I feel like I've definitely experienced a lot of those feelings of feeling left out and feeling unwelcome in these spaces. And I think for me, like as not a fitness professional, but as someone who wants to be in these spaces, the most important thing for me is being able to, like, what I look for when I'm going to try a new gym or a new studio is I look at their social media or I look at their marketing, and I'm like, if I'm not seeing diversity, it's clearly not a space that is welcoming to me or other folks too. And that kind of signals to me that you don't want me there and you don't value me in your space. So it's a pretty easy answer for me of where I'm not going to go. And then like the language piece too. As a writer, I obviously really care about language, and when I'm in a class and I hear things like, oh, it's like bikini body season. Believe it or not, people still say that. Or like, oh, your arms are gonna be out this summer. Like you gotta like lift heavier, and like that's not what fitness is about for me. It's about feeling like autonomy in my body and getting to know my body, feeling at home, and just feeling stronger. So I think language and the marketing is like what I look for. Yeah.
Wow, such great answers. I like to sing. No.
Karaoke.
I do like that. I think for me, well, I'll tell you a little bit my story with these beautiful humans here, well, Jenna in particular, and this organization, being on social media, has had a huge influence on me and my own relationship with fitness and working out. I have spent a lot of money at a lot of gyms, and I remember thinking when I was younger, if I go to the fanciest, most like pristine gym, then I'll go, and I'll be inspired by the type of bodies I'm seeing there, and then naturally I will actually work out and go. And then, not surprising now, in hindsight, I hated going there. I felt so unsafe, and I would be constantly made to feel unsafe, and people would come talk to me like unsolicited advice and conversations I would have, and not always just through people who work at the gyms, which would happen. The stories I could tell, and I'm sure everyone in this room could tell, of conversations I have had with personal trainers, with group instructors that blow my mind, feel like, potentially even like, illegal, the things that I have been, told to do and suggested to do, and things to purchase, all these things, and made me feel so inadequate, and then made me feel like I never belong in these spaces and I can't go there. And they were unsafe for me. And so all to say, I had a friend of mine suggest that I go to one of these classes in the pop-up class before the pandemic. It was a body positive yoga class. And I remember thinking, a body positive, what is that? So we went. And there were all people that looked like me and that looked differently. And the best part were all the tools that were there for me that I'd never even considered, like the different blocks. And I think there were like elastics to help, and like different things to grab your leg if you need some help to pull and to stretch. I'd never had that experience in my whole life. And the fact that the instructor, right at the top, through what they have to say, like an announcement, I guess, told us what to expect, that we're here to have different accessible exercises and techniques and skills, and if you have a question, ask me, like, go at your own pace. Like, this seems so basic, but I have very rarely had that experience in my life, and so I guess, long-winded story short, I went to that one, and then the pandemic hit, so I did a few online, but just engaging with the content and seeing, like, it made me realize what I could strive for and the communities that I could surround myself in. I now personally go to a great community gym in the city that is very much like all kinds of people from all walks of life, and there's still a lot I think that they could work on there, but it really feels like a safe space. So, you know, having like the marketing and the mission on the website and including accessibility and body positivity, I think goes such a long way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks, guys. Actually, you talk about like the different tools and the props and the things that are included in gyms that are created, or in spaces that are created for people in different body sizes. Leads into perfectly to our next question. So fitness spaces often don't accommodate larger body types, whether it's the equipment that doesn't fit, limited clothing options, or lacking education for trainers and staff on how to accommodate different body types. Often trainers look very much like traditional trainers in slim, small bodies. So what changes need to happen to make gyms and studios truly accessible for everybody? You kind of touched on that, but curious to hear what everybody's thinking. There's another mic too. No pressure for who to start. I will hand it back.
Would you like to start? Or I can start. I can start. So I've had many experiences where I felt like, okay, I could get through the door, I could sign up for the class, I could be welcomed at the front, but as soon as I got into the class, I was like, I don't fit in the whatever machines they were using. The teacher doesn't know how to help me adjust my body because she's never worked with a person in a larger body before. There were poses that I couldn't do because like my belly was in the way and they didn't know how to instruct me. So I've had so many experiences like that, and it's so isolating because you feel like your body's wrong and like you're not supposed to be there. And the irony is that the world is yelling at you to be smaller, and then it's like, okay, the place where I could theoretically go to do that, it doesn't even work for me. So what the fuck do you want? Sorry. What the F do you want me to do? I remember going into a spin studio, and if any of you have been to like spin classes, they can be kind of culty. And I loved spinning. I loved it so much. And I chose a bike at the back, and I couldn't get through the aisle to get to my bike. Like, the aisles were too narrow. And so I had to decide, like, do I leave, pretend that I'm sick or something, or do I ask them to help me get to my bike? And so I was like, be brave. I asked them, and it was embarrassing not because I couldn't fit through, but because now everyone was watching me try and like, you know, get through and get to my bike, and they had to like move things around. And that was something where I was like, you really care about profit more than people. And I just don't think that's a good business model. And it makes people feel really crappy and like they're not welcome. So I don't know if that answered your question. I hope it did. But yeah, I'll pass it on to, yeah, okay. I forgot we have more than one.
Meaghan, thank you. I know that the process of having to articulate your needs in that way is very hurtful at times. But for me as a fitness professional, like the amount of times that I've realized how much I can grow from you, from the people I teach every day, from your body, from you expressing what your needs are, like it gives me that opportunity all the time. So I just want to say thank you for that. But that's our tool as well, using our voices and like talking about these things openly. Some of the things that I'll say is, you know, boobs, they flop, they fold, they wiggle, they they drop, they sway, you know. So if you're not talking about it, you are erasing it from our experience. Because if I'm teaching, like, for example, a kettlebell, well, that's a ball of metal that's flying around, but my boobs are flying too. So I would just like to say that I want to express to you what that experience is like. So one, me as an instructor can make you feel safe and be like, oh yeah, it was kind of going a little sideways. How can I adjust for my body? But also for the other instructors that are watching me, they get an understanding of how to articulate that to people when they don't have that experience. Because I'm not expecting them to be in my body and understand everyone's personal experience, but discussing it openly, giving those examples, being forward and not being embarrassed. So me as a fitness professional, I'm taking that step forward for those people who it might be more painful for them to feel like they're the only one having those conversations. So let's talk about it, let's be open, you are an expert. You are an expert in your body, you're an expert in your experience, and some people don't know shit. So like you telling them, hey, this needs a little more space over here. Hey, this chair, the arms of the chair are squeezing me, like, can you get armless chairs? Hey, like, that's gonna help me to grow and help us to learn from the bodies that we teach.
I think what I would really love to see and what I need personally is to see that like a gym or a space is committed to being open to those conversations as well, in ways that like I can have that protection and knowing that if I am going to advocate for myself, you're someone who I know for sure based on maybe signage or a mission, or you know that you've put thought and intentionality into that. And I think like something that I find really cool, let's say, about the community gym that I'm going to right now is they're not a LGBTQ gym, but they're like fiercely allies to the community. And so you'll see when you go in, like there's flags, like the progress flag you can see. And as a queer person, I go to the gym and I'm like, oh, there's my flag. I feel good, like, you know, and like we go and I work out and I'm like, you know, looking butchy and I'm feeling good about that. And I feel like if anyone were to make me feel unsafe or uncomfortable, I know that gym is dedicated to that, and so I feel safe to go speak to someone like, hey, it's in your mission that, but how come we don't have in the missions that it would be an anti-fat bias or like a body positive space? Like that seems so, like I feel like that should be step one, like an accessible fitness, like body space, but I don't see that necessarily anywhere. And you know, when I'm in like when I'm in the changing room and there's like a whole list of rules for the sauna, I just wonder, like, could we not have the missions of how we speak to each other or what we tolerate in these spaces are not on the walls as well, so that I could know, I could reference that. It's like a funny story is that I was reading a book in the sauna. It's not allowed. I didn't know. And you know, this woman was like, you can't be reading in here, you have to leave with the book. And I was like, how can you can't tell me what to do with my book? In my head, I did step out, so I respected, and then I was like, I read it, it did say no book. So I'll just say it's an example, and I said, okay, yeah, no, I will never bring a book in there again, you're not allowed, it's dangerous. But if I don't have something that I know is like, I know that the institution itself or the organization itself is here to support me as a fat, plus size, or maybe a disabled person or whatever, you know, you're living with. It's very scary. It's very hard to advocate for ourselves, though I know that's the only way, right? That's the only way. I wish there was like a little extra protection in that way for us. And another thing, I wish it would just be a little more neutral in the spaces in general, because I've been to a few classes as well where it's like the opposite. They're like so thrilled that I'm there. It's like, oh my God, like, welcome, fat person. Like, you've made such the right choice and we're so honored that you're here. And it's like that feeling like, oh my God, you know? And they're asking me about my goals in the class and they're like all excited that I'm there and they're like, you know, rallying. That doesn't feel good. No. And like, how do you know I don't take all these classes already? That's another thing I'm sure we'll get to, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one too. I mean, like,
Just add one thing. Yeah. Sorry, just for that, like, what you're talking about is an experience of whether or not you're congregating or you're segregating. So when folks are teaching, the language that they use can tell you that, and the expression, and even though we're talking about like a lot about marketing, sometimes people will use the words, but the behavior is not following along, right? So that really targeted. Oh, now I see you, and you're different. Now you're othered, so you don't feel like that's a place for you to congregate anymore. they've now created a segregated space, and you are trying to figure out how to fit into it. So again, for us as fitness professionals or gyms and gym owners, it's important to be able to be open to learning, and that is going to be a mark for you to see, more than even with the signage and everything else, is that if you tell me that I've screwed up, I've got to be able to say, yeah, I screwed up. And for you to know that I'm going to make a change from your feedback. And if you don't see that, I would say run. Like, it's just, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of discourse around, yeah, absolutely speaking up for yourself, but then there's also the idea of, is the space created for you in mind, or is it just we tolerate you being here, right? And then as like instructors, I'm totally editorializing now, but as instructors, there's a lot of lived experience if you have lived in a bigger body. So if there's breast tissue, belly tissue, thigh tissue, that kind of get in the way that you need to modify. Often people who are in these positions as instructors or as trainers don't have that lived experience of understanding how somebody's body who's shaped like mine would need to modify and make those changes. So, when you are walking into a space trying to advocate for yourself, it's very inconvenient for people to kind of be like, oh, we have to put less bikes into the spin class, and for that one person who spoke up about it, right? Anyway, so how can fitness professionals challenge their own internalized weight bias and create truly inclusive spaces beyond just marketing themselves as body positive or inclusive brands? This is a hot question, because there's a lot of lip service, as you guys have already talked about. Just the marketing is really sexy. It was sexy to have these like buzzwords of inclusive spaces, but is that still the case in 2025?
Like I said, I'm not a fitness professional, so I can't really speak from that perspective, but I think if I owned a gym or if I was a fitness trainer, I would make it part of my continual education to be learning about health at every size, and there's got to be workshops out there for fitness professionals, right, on how to work with people in different bodies. Yeah, there's got to be. So hire different people to be in your space, and that will like inherently bring the needed perspective to make places more inclusive. I think that's this is kind of unrelated, but like at work when they're like, oh, how do we deal with like DEI and stuff? And I'm like, pay people to come and do it. Like, what do you mean? That's the answer, I think. I don't know if any of you guys want to talk. Yeah.
I'm also not a fitness professional, but I can speak in general terms for all people that have, anti-fat bias and fat phobia internalized, or just the real deal inside of us. I think the industry is very dark in that way, the fitness and diet culture worlds, because they target fat people and they don't set fat people up for success at all, and they want us to just keep spending more and more and more money, fail, and then try again, then fail, and then try again. So they're not, I feel like a lot of times these places are not actually setting us up for long-term, health, happiness, whatever, inclusion. So that's hard because I don't know if they want to necessarily help us or have us involved in that way, but I think they should, because we're strong all together and we have money to spend, and we also are deserving, of course, of like safe spaces to be healthy and to be happy and to join together. I think for me, I've spoken to people and I've asked them, do you have a fat friend? Have you ever gone to a fat book club, or have you tried? Have you gone out and actually spoken to people of these groups, or have you made community with them? And the answer is always no, but I've watched a video, or I try. And what about do you follow, fat people online, like influencers, or that's one thing that I find really challenging with people who are trying to figure out XYZ thing, and they're like, oh, well, I don't have people like that around me. Well, that's number one, and you could literally find them on the internet. Like, who do you follow? If you're a fitness instructor and you're a trainer, like, do you go out of your way to follow Health at Every Size Instagrams? Like, that's one great way that you can connect with people and learn just like by scrolling and watching and listening and learning. And they're really beautiful books as well. And I think it starts with actually just like a desire to actually want to become a better, instructor, a better fitness person, and a better human in general, and to try to really include people. And also, I think what I would think would be cool is, for example, like in the space that I go to work out, they do have signs, like there's always a personal trainer like around that you can ask some questions. And I would love, again, back to what I was saying before, to know that they actually can help all kinds of different people. And if we knew that they were doing that kind of training, once in a while, maybe that's a part of being someone who trains at that gym. Like if you're a trainer at that space, it's required to do these kind of trainings. And like you said, hire someone, who does this, who specializes, and come and teach you, and then let your community know that they're doing that. Because that's another thing, is you guys can do it once in a blue moon, and if we don't know about it, that'll help us feel safe, I think, as well. So, I don't know if that answers the question.
I mean, any bias is tough to unpack for yourself. I remember, taking my daughter, 8 years ago or so. My kids are adults now, but I was taking her to the gym with me. She's very quiet, has a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, and I just wanted her to be in the space to see some heavy shit lifting, do something. And she started to get curious about powerlifting, and she was 14, 15 at the time, and lifting 300 pounds. Strong. Right? But what was curiouser is after I had already been competitive Muay Thai fighter for over 3 years, had been teaching in many different ways. I would take her out and she would be lifting, and a person would look at me and then say, how did she get into that? Your daughter's so strong. How did she get into that? I would just blink. I would be looking and I'd be blinking. But I just say that to say that the experience of weight bias, people really don't notice it. And so how we enter into those conversations to be able to give feedback that's uplifting, but to understand, because it's very obvious. I'm strong as fuck. I don't understand. Sorry, I don't know about your video. But it's I'm oh, it's not obvious to you, because how I present says to you that I couldn't possibly know anything about how to get her into this world. Where's the fit person who showed her the way? Or where's your husband? Where's your husband? He must have been the husband, right? I don't know. But, so for me, considerations day to day of where you can pause and ask yourself, have you made an assumption? Have you made an assumption by what you see or what you heard? And if you stepped in it, how did you step out of it too? So I'm hopeful that person, had that experience, and from there they started to, maybe they didn't have the words for weight bias or they didn't understand weight stigma, but to be able to say oh my goodness, why did I make that assumption? And now when I meet people, will I do differently? And for me as well, that comes down to the idea of I'm not going to assume somebody comes into my class and based on their body size that they're a beginner. I need to ask questions. I need to get curious about their experience. I'm not going to assume that they do need a mobility aid, I'm going to make them available and give you the opportunity to get curious with yourself and instruct based on, well, here's what I can do with a yoga block, here's what I can do with a strap, here's what I can do when it comes to having a towel. Like, there's all these opportunities, and you want to find a way to make them make movement more accessible to you. And that's based on your capacity every single day, because again, bodies change. So what we did yesterday and what you do today is not the same. So those are the ways that I try to unravel my own weight bias, by questioning myself and asking myself to consider and reconsider every day.
One more quick thing. I think, like, kind of just jumping off of what you said, like, when we make spaces accessible for larger bodied people, it's more accessible for everyone. So like, it's not, I often, like, on my TikTok, I get so much vitriol from people asking me why I'm complaining about Aritzia not making plus size clothes, like, as if no one else has said that before. But it's like, well, if we're making the largest sizes, it's also benefiting everybody, because then you're advocating for making the smallest sizes too. Like, I got somebody commenting like, well, they're the only places that make triple XS, and I'm like, yeah, so you get that, why don't we also get the same thing? So when it's accessible for everyone, it's accessible for everybody. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, and that kind of feeds into my next thought for you guys is that, you know, the cultural belief is still obviously that people in larger bodies are by default deconditioned, inexperienced, seeking weight loss. They're seeking certain predisposed things when they walk into a fitness space. So how can we do better as both gym goers and fitness professionals to kind of change this bias? Is there anything, how can we do that if it's possible?
I have a point. The first thing that came to mind is, first, I know that it's very profitable for fitness instructors to market with before and after photos and say, look at what I can do with this person, look how I can recreate their body. And for me, I find that very, very off-putting. And I know it's different for everybody, and everyone has different goals, and maybe that is something you want, and that's also okay if that's what you want. But for me, like, I really like when the marketing doesn't focus on how you can change your body and more on what things you can accomplish after doing a session or something like that. That's what I would say. Yeah.
I don't know. You already kind of checked in on that.
Sorry, I'm just saying that too. So weird.
Yeah.
Can you say the question again?
Yes. How can we, like, there's the bias, or there's a predisposition that exists that larger body people are inexperienced, so they're seeking certain things in the gym, often like weight loss, or they receive unsolicited opinion based on assumptions that people make just looking at them. So right. Is there a way that we can change that conversation? And if so, what can we do?
Yeah, I think the number one thing would be to have conversations. Like you were saying, you know, like, assumptions are very harmful. I'll say, like, to me, I find it hurts me a lot, and it's constant. Like, I go, you know, when I'm feeling up to it, I'll go, like, pretty often to my gym, and I'm really getting tired of the assumptions from the community members or from other people working out or from, you know, assuming that everyone's goal is intentional weight loss is obviously the number one assumption. The assumption that I'm not strong. I'm really, really tired of people being so surprised when they see how much I can lift or, like, what I'm doing, and, like, how that seems to earn me a new social status within that space. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to be involved in that at all. It makes me feel very sad, and it makes me feel sometimes like shame comes up for me, like, oh, am I not, I look a certain way, so they assume all this stuff about me, and it harms me, and it makes me not want to work out in that space anymore. It makes me want to give up, like, my own goals and my own journey, and it's why, like, having spaces like these or communities of people who understand me and who get me is, like, crucial, because in those spaces, it's just, I feel most commonly, everyone assumes that's the number one goal for everyone involved too. Not even just people in bigger bodies, you know. It harms everybody, I think. And also gets in the way of whatever the goal is that you have. Like, so often, like, and it's cool if that is your goal, intentional weight loss, that's a whole other thing. But let's say it's not. Let's say you have different goals, like weight loss is not necessarily gonna help you with that goal, depending on what you actually wanna accomplish or do. And I know for me, I'll just speak on this like briefly, because I'm like excited to think that hopefully some fitness professionals will be watching this after the fact, like on YouTube or whatever. So like, please listen. I really think that we need to be having conversations with each other. The assumptions are so harmful, and let's not forget that if I'm in a fat body and I'm just like living life, I'm carrying a lot of weight on me. I'm very strong. I walk up and down the stairs. I'm like picking things up. I'm doing the groceries. Hello? Like, you put this on you as a weight, let's say, like strap it on and let's see what you can do. So let's not assume, you know, that I can't. And let's say I couldn't. Let's say I'm not strong. Let's talk about how those goals, like, what are my daily goals? What do I want to be able to accomplish? Like, what's going on? And investigate, like, get curious, because the assumptions are so harmful. And some people have a lot of trouble or can't lose weight as well. And it really hurts me as someone who has insulin resistance and PCOS and all these things. It's very, very challenging. It is a holistic thing. There's a lot of people have eating disorders. There's so many things that we know people live with. And I'm so tired that you think if I work out a certain way and eat a certain way that fits the box that you know of, that has worked for certain people that you work with, will work for me, or that's even my goal. And I find it violent, to be very honest, because as someone who lives with an eating disorder and who's in recovery, when these things happen, it's very triggering, and like, that's my responsibility to deal with, but I would love to not have that show up as frequently as it does. And another thing is I would love for there to be larger towels. And if you're listening at home, I'm just going to give you a quick tip that if there are only very small towels, I have figured it out. If I may take a second, I use 2 towels. I don't care if they suggest 1. I use 2, always.
Or you're going to see more of me.
Yeah, hello. I put 1 towel behind me, and then, okay, I'm just going to give you a little instructional.
Show us.
Okay, so I take my little towel, and I put it behind. Then I tuck it under the
Yes.
and they hold it there, okay? So I'm just have a towel like this right now. Then my second towel, I take to the front, and then I put under my
Draping 101 is coming like this. I would just add that, to all my fitness professional friends, stop it. Stop it. Don't do it. Listen, hear the words and listen. Stop making these assumptions. Get more curious. Stop being lazy. Yes, I'll say it. It's lazy coaching. You need to know who you're coaching, so stop making assumptions about their needs as well. Again, shameless plug. But education matters. We should be learning and continuing to learn. And if you are not considering, I personally have been through many, many certifications. I have lots of letters. I don't really care because almost more than 80% of them has some component where they will insist on teaching a standard program for fat loss. Or just as a fitness professional, that is what they are teaching new fitness professionals at this school institution that is the standard of fitness. So how can we expect any different when our education systems are insisting that that's the model? Now they're going into a cycle and saying, well, this is what, if you're going to start your new business and you're a new professional and you want to be successful, this is what people are looking for. Well, now you infuse that into your assumptions, and so this is what they told me you need, so I'm going to start selling that, right? So if we start to look at how we're trained as fitness professionals and who we go to, we need to be able to step out of that paradigm, understand like what is it to market your business without before and after photos. You will not find a before and after photo on my page. What does that look like to comfort someone who is looking for weight loss and hasn't been able to find it? There's a lot that's in that space of coaching, and if we don't find a diverse set of institutions, schools, courses, programs, we will never shift out of that space where we treat them like they're beginners all the time. We have low expectations for their competency, all of the assumptions that come with anti-fat bias.
Yeah, awesome.
We both were
Well, I just want to quickly say that I'll speak just for myself, that I would love and appreciate someone going, I'm not sure the answer here. Let me get back to you. Like, oh, you know what? I haven't met this situation before. This hasn't shown up for me, or I'm not really sure how to get this exercise to work for your body type, but like next week I'm going to come back and I'm going to go talk to some people. And to me personally, that would build trust with me, that you're committed and that you want to figure it out, more than like pretending or like, this like box that you're gonna assume or put us in. So I think people are scared in any profession to show that you don't know an answer, when in fact, personally, I would say admitting you don't know something is super cool, and then actually going to do the going to do it though is very important.
Yeah, and not being afraid to like make a mistake too, I think. One thing I wanted to share an experience that I had with you, Daniela, actually. A very good one. I did. So I grew up, I played competitive soccer, competitive dance, horseback ride. Like I was an athlete. I never felt like one though, because of how my body looked. And I thought that the way I looked dictated like if I was an athlete or not. And I've only just started to see myself as an athlete, and I still struggle with that, but I did, I think like 10 sessions with you, was it last year? Who knows, time. And I've never felt so like respected in a gym space, and so like respected not just as a human being, but as like what I'm capable of doing. Like you would always tell me like, you can do that, like you can do it. And that is like the most beautiful experience to have as like a fat person who was always underestimated, always told they couldn't do it, always assumed they couldn't do it. And when people assume that for so long, you just think you can't. And so like, that's like, I mean, the fact that this place exists is just like the best, Jenna, like it's amazing. So I just wanted to say that, because being treated like an athlete, it's like, yeah, I'm a fucking athlete, you know? And like, it doesn't matter what you look like whatever. I just wanted to say that. No.
Anybody else have any other thoughts? Yes, thank you so much. This was beautiful. This is a beautiful conversation. Thank you all for being here and listening and taking part. And this panel is something else. Thank you so much for being part of it. Thank you, Damali Fraiser. Thank you, Meaghan Wray. Thank you, Jennarie. And thank you all for being here and coming. And that's, I think that's a good spot. If anyone else has any thoughts to
I was
add.
gonna ask if anyone had any questions, like burning questions, but it's
Thank you,
not, if
Damali.
you have the time, no time.
Yes, if anybody has any thoughts or any questions.
We good?
Yes, I'm very mindful of time, so I think that's, unless there's anything else that anyone wants to say, I think we'll kind of wrap it there. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you.